It's the Sod Pod. Brought to you by Grassland Agro. The Sod Pod. Hello, and welcome to the Sod Pod. This is episode 9 of season 2. I'm joined with Claire, Lauren, and David Corbett. David had the privilege of being out in Lanzarote there last week. He's a beautiful glow on his face. He's smiling from ear to ear. Davy, how did that go for you?
Very good, Jim. Very good. It was actually Tenerife. Just beautiful. It's tough to come out of it. With 28, 29 degrees. Just savage. The worst part of the holiday now was watching Clare play Kerry there in the Munster final. That was hard going. Yeah. Everyone else was absolutely majestic though.
At least small ball is back for you anyway, Davy.
Small ball is back. Jeez, it is well and truly.
Yeah, Munster's going to be a bloodbath now.
Waterford now the weekend.
Yeah, it'll be tricky because they'll surely bounce back. They were very poor against Cork, weren't they?
They were. But look, jeez, Clare, someone win against Limerick. There's no harm. It was badly due.
Gaelic rounds.
Badly due.
No phones lost or anything, Dave, on the holiday or anything?
No phone lost or anything, no. Nothing to report on that front.
No alcohol influenced phones lost.
And Lauren and Claire, issue 4 of Out the Gap, your monthly newsletter, that went live there last week as well. How did you find that and what did you discuss?
Yeah, James, this issue we're talking about mental health with the workplace and around agriculture. So just kind of diving in, we had our own company wellbeing day there. So we had in two good speakers, and we're just kind of talking around the importance of it with agriculture, and just even starting the conversation is very important, and getting people just talking just is very important, we found, from the two speakers we had.
Yeah, I even love that you finished that article off with protect yourself as you were number one. It was just a great little thing. Be aware of yourselves, guys, and mind yourself. And I really commend you. It's a tough topic to cover, but we need to talk about it more, not only in the agricultural sector, across society as well. And fair play to you, it's a lovely read. And there's some great little links at the end of that as well, if anyone wants to kind of just suss out some little things and watch some triggers and help themselves going forward as well. So well done to ye on that. And that's on our website, www.grasslandagro.ie. What's happening in farming today out there, guys? This is always May. It's always a funny month. Maybe a bit funnier this year. Great grass growth's back in January and February. You know, there was prime conditions, and by God, have we paid for it since March, April, and here we are in May. And I don't think there's been 2 days in a row without rain at the moment. So what's the thoughts? Any advice for guys out there and ladies?
Yeah, no, James, it's been tough. Look, we've spoken about it a good bit already, but look, grass utilisation has been poor, and there's been very little fertiliser spread. For most of March and April, there was a tiny bit of a window there, and that's when people probably got out with fertiliser when they could. And look, I don't think the forecast is even looking great at the moment, but I suppose what we want to kind of toe into now at the moment is that silage is just around the corner, and we're coming into our peak grass months, May and June. So if we don't capitalise on those peak growing months, we'll have massive issues down the line, and potentially next winter we could have a forage crisis. So I suppose at the moment what we want to do is just kind of turn our focus to silage, try make good quality, high quality silage. And I know some farmers will be tempted at the moment to maybe go for bulk. At the end of the day, like, silage is what makes up 6 months, if not plus, for the majority of annual feed. So we want to make some bit of good quality silage. So where that's a matter of maybe picking a few areas now, going for the quality rather than the bulk, and then later on going for the bulk then after that. So at least we have some good quality silage in the back of the pit.
Yeah, it's a great point, Lauren. And like, the way the spring has come and into the start of the summer, like, it's very challenging. And we talked about the mindset of farmers and well-being and mental health, and it's I suppose at the forefront now more than ever, because so much has happened and there was so much stress on farm the weather came good. Late spring came very poor. There's very little forage on farm, and I think that's worrying for a lot of farmers now. Looking into and forecasting forward. So look, it's very important. And look, I think it's just be aware of the farmers you're going in and talking to, and farmers talking to each other, and if it's industry going in on farm, just be aware of maybe how farmers' mindset might be, because look, it has been very, very challenging. But look, I suppose just in terms of grass growth at the moment, like we're probably similar enough in terms of grass growth compared to what a 5-year average would have been. Where next week we're probably going to hit maybe 70, mid 70s on fairly highly stocked farms. Demand is probably at where growth is. So we're kind of on the happy medium there. Maybe growth is probably a small bit ahead. But look, that is good. I suppose what's maybe going to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's promised fairly broken, but if temperatures start to increase a bit, there will be a massive drive in growth there. And we might just talk about it there in a few minutes, but that can maybe lead to a few more issues. And if we're not thinking or managing those issues at the moment, they can be probably problematic now going forward. So. But look, just in terms of growth, like it is, fairly good at the moment. Grass quality is very good, but it's just maybe trying to tease out maybe a few problems that might be on farm there at the moment.
Exactly, and David, as you're mentioning there, like the growth is going to surpass the demand. It's climbing as week on week, as you're saying, the temperatures are going to increase. So getting out and even just walking your farm, you might even have to measure the grass. All your paddocks, but even walking and understanding what paddocks are getting ahead of you are going to be too strong. If you're going to go over that 1,300 to 1,500 cover of a pre-grazing yield for your cows, to take them out and get those extra bales, as Lauren was saying, for these 6+ months of a silage demand needed. As droughts are coming more common, and then the back end was wet, so the demand on silage is going to be big. So if your grass growth is getting ahead of you on your grazing ground, to go and get in there, bale it up, whatever is possible, and keep those pre-grazing yields at optimum for good quality grass for the cows.
And that's a great point there, because like there's probably over the next six weeks now, there's a great opportunity there to take off surplus grass and utilise as much of that grass as possible, because we're going to see our highest growth there probably in the next 4 weeks, to be honest, like 4 to 6 weeks. So look, I suppose just in terms of what we're doing within Grass and Agro, like we have a soil sustainability program. Look, there's a lot of different legs to that. We have our core sustainability program where we're doing soil samples, we're doing a fertilizer plan for a farmer, we're measuring silage, we're looking at soil health, we're looking at roots. There's a lot of different things, and we have different products in as well that can help drive sustainability, like the mineral blocks and helping rumination and get the animal working better. But look, I suppose just in terms of the next 4 to 6 weeks, if you feel like you're not confident enough in managing that grass, get someone in that's maybe going to give you a hand or give you a bit of advice. And I suppose we have maybe up in 50 agronomists around the country, from the top to the bottom of the country, are all trained in and well clued in terms of grass. We've had many outings with Teagasc, training days, internally, externally, very clued in with grass. So get in touch with one of us and just, I suppose, maybe just try to manage that grass in the next 6 weeks as best you can, because as you said there, Claire, that surplus grass is going to be taken off. That is going to be absolute godsend. That's going to be money in the bank, because that's the silage that we're going to feed in the shoulders of the year when cows are milking. So it's probably the closest thing we're going to get to graze grass are those surplus paddocks.
Yeah, just a few bits on that, Dave. Like, and Claire, we're talking about taking off those surplus bales and taking out those paddocks. But like the key thing as well into taking out paddocks like that is to have the confidence to do it. Like getting out, like what we were saying, is measuring it and actually having the confidence to do it. It's very easy for me to go out on someone else's farm or your farm, Dave, and say, geez, you need to take out those paddocks, or come on here and we'll have a little walk. But when you're on someone else's farm, it's easier for you to do it. So I suppose having the confidence in yourself, backing yourself that you are able, and exactly getting maybe a second opinion with it. But just on taking out those paddocks, When our pre-grazing yield gets too high, we start to lose the quality. Okay, so yes, we are going to feed those bales in the winter, and we're hoping to have really good high quality forage in the diet. But like a good point that was made during the week was that it's still grass at the end of the day, and yes, it's going to ferment and it's going to ensoil, but the composition of it won't actually change. So if we let those paddocks get too strong and get too high, it's still going to be poor quality silage in a couple of months' time. The composition isn't going to change. So making sure that we're not letting it get too high and that we're actually keeping control of the paddocks before they get too strong and taking out those surplus.
Yeah. That's 100% right, Lauren, because like grass is going to go back, and if you can cut at a lower cover or at a lighter cover, that regrowth and that bounce back is going to be much quicker.
Yeah.
Like if we take the growth rate, which is probably going to be at the end of this week, is probably going to be near 70. That's probably maybe a 21 day rotation. And that growth is only increasing. So if we get to a growth of 100, which is probably not too far away, I mean, we might be talking maybe 2 weeks, maybe less. All depends what way weather comes. We're talking a 15-day rotation. That's only a 2-week rotation. So, like, there's a lot of scope there. Grass is going to grow, like, And as you say, it is just having the confidence to do it and just biting the bullet. And I know, like, when you're not doing it, it is hard to maybe. It's hard to bite at it and go at it, but like they are going to be the small wins that are going to make the difference at the back end of the year. Because look, the biggest problem at the moment is that forage is probably on the lower side on farm. Reserves are down, and the other thing, and from talking to farmers, fertilizer use probably down a fair bit as well, and that is going to have an impact on, I suppose, the yearly growth essentially.
Yeah, and spare a thought as well for the contractors in this. So like with farmers and the contractors, try to keep that open conversation with them, because these guys, we're talking about mental health, we're talking about workload, we're talking about stresses that are in the game. Their window is so tight now this year because of this ground condition, with this weather condition that's out there as well, that they're going to, when this hits bang, they're not going to have enough hours in the day to meet the demand that's out there as well. So utilising your contractor and having the conversations, which, as I say, the best laid plans, weather dictates everything in that world as well, but trying to keep in contact with them and taking advice and working with them as well, that if you could be in a situation where you've got 2 lots of ground and the contractor's only time for one of them. As you try and be ready for that and be prepared and be ready to go, well, I'm going to have to sacrifice this side for that side. I'm going to have to do a plan B and a plan C as well, just to be aware of it and keep visualizing,
100%, James.
Sometimes, now I know I'm kind of biased in this, but
that's okay too.
We have a hatred against the contractors, but like it's funny that you say that, James. Like I was actually talking to Leeson yesterday, Dad, and he was actually only just saying himself, like, because all the kind of gears kind of getting pulled out now, and like we're only barely finished sowing spring barley, like when there's spring coming out, there's everything coming at once. And he just commented and said, Jesus, I am dreading this side of season. So like contractors are dreading it as much as farmers are dreading it, Yeah. So, I might be a tiny bit biased in that. So just be nice to them.
Yeah.
Just for reference, Leeson is Daddy. I know, 100%. So, like, and it's like it is becoming more spread out. I suppose years got by, there was just the first coat, and there was no surplus basement coat, and it was the first coat, maybe a second coat, and that was it. Like, But look, I suppose that's how I suppose specific, or how well managed now farms are becoming. But like, I suppose maybe just going on from that as well, Claire, is maybe the disease point of things, and probably one of the biggest diseases on farm, and what is going to be more and more prevalent now in the next few weeks as well, as grass growth increases, is actually nutritional disease, and one of those is pica, and that is going to become more and more prevalent there over the next few weeks.
Exactly, David, and we're kind of like right and smack down in the middle of the breeding season. And as you're saying, as this grass growth picks up now, the amount of minerals composition in the grass might be a little diluted. So as you're saying, the peak of their deficiency in phosphorus. So you want to keep an eye out for it and try and manage it, because phosphorus would be very important now for the breeding season and getting those cows back in calf and getting them holding as well, getting stronger heats. But then having the cow to hold as well, phosphorus plays a massive role in it. So try not to have too much of deficiency in phosphorus. So maybe if you go back and you again talk to the agronomist and say you look at your soil results, and if the phosphorus is low, and even if the indexes in phosphorus are high in the soil, there could be still a potential for a phosphorus deficiency as these grass growth picks up. So just to look out for it. And again, talk to the agronomist again, such as using a phosphorus block to try and just minimise or fill the gap between the grass and the demand for phosphorus in the cow's diet.
And peak over the last number of years is always a thing, right? But I've just found maybe since 2018 it seems to be becoming more and more prevalent, or maybe we've become more and more aware of it. But like the triggers I've been seeing, Claire, you mentioned phosphorus. Obviously low sodium is a factor as well, and one of the other angles there is just poor rumen health. And like they're kind of three of the drivers that seem to be, if you can manage that phosphorus, sodium, and the health of the cow's stomachs, you have a chance here as well. And just keeping visual on it, because it's a big problem.
Yeah, rumen health is an issue at the moment, James, because dry matters they're probably low compared to where they would be usually for the month of May. Like we're probably in around 13-14% dry matter, which is relatively low. So a lot of low dry matter and very leafy grass going into cows. And the issue with that is it's just running through the cow very quick. They're not, so like we like Claire, you talked about peak and phosphorus deficiency. Like there's absolutely no point putting forage into an animal if it's just going straight out the back of them, because they're not getting the opportunity to get the goodness out of that forage, get the energy, the protein, those minerals, and the most important one at the moment is phosphorus. And we probably didn't mention why phosphorus is important at the moment. Cows they're thereabouts now peak milk production. That is very, very phosphorus hungry. The other thing at the moment, and the other big one on farm, is the breeding season. Cow is absolutely no good to us if she doesn't go back in calf. That is absolutely fundamental, because we need her lactating next spring again. So if we don't get a cow in calf, that's just, I suppose, last profit on the farm. Like, so we want to get a cow in calf first time. So that phosphorus is very, very important for that whole cycle. And like what Claire was saying there, if we compare soil fertility, so we were talking about an index 3, we'd say a soil that's an index 3 or 4 for P, where we want it, that's perfect. In the month of January or February, we take that soil sample, but we have very low growth rates at that time. And if we compare to what's happening now, we have grass growth, which is 10 times higher now compared to where it was in the month of February. And when you have 10 times more grass growth, you're just going to have 10 times more dilution. So that's the problem in the forage, is that all the minerals have just been diluted down, and there's not enough coming into the animal. And there's plenty of research showing that even on index 3s and 4s, that there's not sufficient P going into the animal, or not sufficient P in the grass. So supplementing is going to be very, very important.
Yeah, and exactly when an animal is lacking mineral like that, that's when the first thing they go for is salt. Salt is what helps transport those minerals around the body. It's the same with ourselves. So getting something that's is sodium based will really, really help.
And our own version of that, our Calci-Phos, our high performance mineral block, is brilliant for that. 9% phos inclusion, but it's also got the digestive aid in it as well, which helps with that function within the rumen as well. And it's brilliant because it's regulated on sodium. As you said there, guys, they can't overconsume on sodium in almost all cases. The animal knows when there's enough sodium in the system. And the mineral makeup within the Calci-Phos is balanced for the animal itself. So it's just an extra benefit there. And there's other alternatives. There's boluses and there's all sorts of things like that. And Davy, you'd often talk, though, about changes in farming and changes in feed. And it's to try and transition everything. Never shock the system with a big change. It's all about smooth transition. So
no, that's exactly it. And like feed on farm is changing every day, and the biggest reason feed is changing, and we're talking about feed, I'm talking about grass. the biggest reason for that, and the main reason is the climate. The other thing maybe that is going to have an influence is kind of the physiology of the grass. So like come mid to in May now, grass is going to start heading out. There's going to be a lot more fibre in the grass. It's probably not good on terms of the production side of things, because it's like more fibre is not really ideal for the tank, in terms of protein and energy. But it is important for the animal, because they need a certain amount of fibre. And we talk about the animal, the microflora and the rumen, the microbes that are in the animal, they are literally driving that animal. They are the engine of the animal. So we need to get them working. Probably the number one issue at the moment is low dry matter, probably, and not a whole lot of fibre going into the animal. And that's why things are that's why it's like a war zone inside the parliament. Every cows are shooting you, inside the pit, and that is the problem at the moment. Probably another one there, Lauren, is with sheep and scald at the moment, and just you thought you call yourself the guru, and we'll give you that one, but probably back to the climate again, another like the biggest dictating factor in everything.
Yeah, geez, I'm going to take my opportunity now when John Loughlin's not here, because he absolutely detests them. He'd be rolling his eyes at me like he's actually unbelievable. But yeah, no, look, there is just on the road and on farm, there is issues with scald at the moment, and like what you're saying, it's the perfect climate conditions for it. That kind of wet, lush pastures, that's kind of when scald kind of comes into play. And I suppose when we have that damp conditions, and especially in lambs, you might be doing a bit of creep feeding at the moment. You might be supplementing because the grass quality isn't that great. We have targets to hit and stuff. So I suppose that's when we get kind of that whitish or red inflamed sores or lessons in between the back digits of the hoof. And that's caused, I suppose, especially around those troughs, because that's the moisture is there for the bacteria to kind of grow in and flourish. And I suppose the issues with scald on farm it's probably one of the three main issues with lameness. But I suppose what happens is it's kind of the starting kind of stepping block that can cause foot rot. And I suppose what happens then is we have a massive issue, and we can start to lose thrive. But I suppose if farmers are coming across issues with scalds at the moment, it's a tricky one, because a lot of sheep farmers might have blocks away from home, and they mightn't have the facilities to get the animals in. But I suppose treating them straight away, there's an antiseptic sprays that you can get, and then I suppose after that you're looking at a 10% copper sulfate foot bath, or maybe a 3% formalin foot bath. But I suppose that's when our cases get kind of over that outbreak of maybe the 5% is when we kind of have an outbreak. But yeah, just keeping an eye on it at the moment, because if we reduce the body condition score of those lambs, we're going to reduce our growth rates, and that's the last thing we want now at the moment, especially with the grass quality not being as good as we would like. So yeah, massive issues with scald at the moment.
Yeah, and I suppose with that as well, Lauren, like Joe, it's scald. It's probably it's kind of a storm with probably mild and damp weather. That's, I suppose, causes scald. Another issue maybe, and something to think about going forward, especially coming probably January now, it's going to come is the register in terms of animal remedies. But maybe just trying to be proactive this year now in getting a plan in place. But worms and fluke and that, and just the use of anthelmintics, like so. I suppose that's maybe just something to think about at the moment. It's probably going to come to the fore now as well in the next few weeks. Like animals maybe have been out now for a month, maybe 3 weeks. So farmers might be thinking about going dosing there maybe next week or two. It's probably just something religiously that was done. And look, I would say maybe take a measured approach at it. Like there's plenty of visuals, like you would see animals maybe being a small bit watery or scuttery out the back. That can, like dry matter and just maybe very lush grass can play a part in that as well. But maybe doing a fecal egg count will be a very important one as well. And that is a great indicator of where the animal or a group of animals is at. Like, and I suppose just in terms of maybe what we have to offer in that space is the Nutri-V fight. So it's a block with antioxidants, and without getting into too much detail, I suppose what those antioxidants are doing is just helping to reduce, I suppose, the impact that those pests or the the fluke or the worms are having on the animals. So it's not allowing them to develop and multiply within the system. I suppose everything that we do within grass and agro, look, I suppose we're doing a lot of follow up with it, and we are making sure that whatever product we are selling on farm, that it is working and farmers are getting the reward or return on it. So like in terms of the NutriV fight, I suppose what we're doing, any farmers that were doing it, and we've had very, very good results, and I suppose it was something that was that definitely took off big time for us last year. But what we were doing was actually doing fecal egg samples or fecal egg counts for farmers. So if a farmer was using that NutriV fight block, we were going in maybe a few days before the farmer was going to dose, take a dung sample or a shit sample, send it off to the lab and see what that count was, and that is going to be our best indicator in terms of where those animals are at. And look, it is very important that we were bringing that farmer's vet on the journey with us, so that I suppose everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah,
you have a great video, David, you were involved in at that time as well with Martin Keaton on the NutriV fight.
Yeah, 100%, James, up in Westport, and probably away his farm and has a good worm board and got on very well with it. Well worth a look, just maybe to get a better understanding of what it is, and we can share it on our socials there if anyone wants to have a look at it.
Yeah, it's a brilliant job.
Just one thing to mention there, I'm banging on about it again, but there's massive antibiotic resistance within sheep at the moment, or dosing, sorry. So, and I suppose at the moment with the weather, there's massive, this is key times for worms. So it's a nematode virus. It's basically a worm parasite that hatches annually. Basically, it's last year's eggs that have had cool conditions over the winter and now start to warm up, and this is when all the eggs hatch. So what happens here is we get massive issues with worms in the sheep, and I suppose the best way to kind of keep an eye on that is that the Department of Ag have released basically a nematode virus forecast. And normally it's I think it's actually later in March to the start of April. And just to keep an eye on that, normally what you'll do is you'll dose 2 weeks later and you'll go with maybe a white drench, but maybe the option would be to introduce these NutriV fights to kind of prevent that resistance to those doses, because it's a massive issue within the sheep industry.
Yeah, brilliant, Lauren. And Claire, just one last point. Obviously, within our own soil sustainability programme, it's in its third year now. It's going really well. It's where we take soil samples, we build a fertiliser plan, and we walk with that farmer through the whole process. We follow the whole year around with him as well. You know, so when we do an arrangement with a farmer, we're with him all year long, following the growth rates and following the season and advising as we go on. But right now we're in the depths of cutting way. Many a year when we're doing cutting ways, we're out in the shorts. This year there's still the old rain jacket going around and the odd umbrella. But what sort of data are we seeing so far, Claire, and what's the feedback on the ground?
So as you're saying, with the sustainability programme, we follow right through the season, and at the minute it's silage season. So the agronomists are out with any farmer that is cutting silage. So you're going out and you're getting the yield of the silage, and then you're also looking for the nitrates and the sugars, which are two very important key indicators of how well your silage is going to ferment. And then also you'll be able to see with the yield, you'll say how much you're pulling off, so you're going to see also what kind of P's and K's you're taking off the land as well. So, you know, when you go back again in with your fertiliser plan, they're going to be able to advise the farmer again what possibly is needed to go back out on the soil, to keep that soil fertility ticking along and not depleting the soil. But I suppose there's a variance, I'd say, in what's been coming off, like, you know, wetter land or drier land, you know, the yields are a bit different. But I suppose the main thing is trying to get it cut at the right time, keeping that quality correct, and keeping those sugars high while trying to keep the nitrates low. Yeah,
it's brilliant. And just for reference, we have 50 agronomists up and down the country. We work hand in hand with the Teagasc model of cutting way. And I suppose possibly the grass expert of Ireland, John Maher in Teagasc, brought us through another course on grass measuring recently as well. So, like, you know, our guys know what they're talking about because they work closely with Teagasc and with John Maher and sharing best practice and how we move forward. So, like, it's always great to have all these skill sets and expertise. And remember, this isn't about good news stories. This is about reality checks. If grass is back, we need to look at that and we need to advise going forward. And if grass is going strong, where do we go as well? And we talk about cut-off, all the stuff you talked about as well, which is brilliant, you know.
Yeah, and in terms of the silage there, James, like there's probably two things now that are probably ticking away at farmers. Like quality is like it's always first and foremost, but quantity is something that's probably going to is in the back of the farmer's head now at the moment as well, just with the way the spring came. So just trying to get a happy medium now between the two of them. Look, grass is growing to grow. Like the sooner you cut your silage, the quicker it's going to bounce back. You're not going to lose, I suppose, any grass growth or production. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind. I know you're talking about another cut, but look, you're probably better off with two quality cuts rather than, you know, one poor quality and another good quality. You know, so just keep that in mind. Like, I know, look, we're doing the cutting ways and the sugars and the nitrates, but look, I'd say nearly every Teagasc office is doing them as well. So if a farmer is going to cut them, just take a scalp of grass and bring it into the Teagasc office, and they can do the nitrates and sugars. As Claire said, it's an indication of where your quality is going to be there at the back end of the year.
That's great, folks. Claire, Lauren and David, thanks for a great episode, a great insight. Mind yourselves out there. Farm smart, farm safe.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Sod Pod. We hope you enjoyed it. To find out more, head over to www.grasslandagro.ie or check out our social channels: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn and YouTube. That's all for this episode. See you next time.